What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Syndicated Minds, where we talk about controversial topics, uncover the truth, and give you value when it comes to business, fitness, and personal growth. Today, we have an amazing guest with us. I want to welcome Sid.
What's up, guys? I'm Sid.
So, Sid here, he's an amazing guy. I just met him in my CEO network, and I know a lot about him. But for those that don't know anything about you, tell them a little bit about yourself. What do you do? So on and so forth.
So I'm Sid. I'm 23 years old. I've been living in Miami for the past year and a half. I have a business that does tech contracting in the AI space. I build different AI applications for a bunch of different companies. And other than that, I'm also involved in real estate investing, and I compete in bodybuilding as well.
And that is very humble of him, by the way. This guy works more than anyone I've ever met. The fact that he's in his 20s, I don't think I had that much going on. So we're going to dive into all of that pretty soon. But before we do, I actually want to take back a step and go a little bit more into maybe where you grew up, where are you from, how did Baby Sid come to be? Give me the story in terms of where did you come from?
Yeah, so my family is all from India.
Okay.
So of course India is a third world country, so I grew up with not much, but I did grow up with great parents and loving family. So my parents from a young age would always instill in me the qualities of hard work, discipline, and mainly the importance of education. And those are qualities that I value and stick to this day.
No, that's amazing, man. So it sounds to me like you had a really, really strong family household that actually encouraged you in many ways. So how was your relationship with your parents? Were they very strict, or were you are you the oldest in your family?
Yeah, so I was the first child in my family, the first son.
Nice.
And yeah, my parents held me to a very high standard, because one thing about Indian culture is that it's there's a very high pressure to perform in school, especially.
Got it.
So anything other than being in the top 1% was considered to be a failure. So from a young age, I had that extremely high standard to only be in the top 1%, or anything else was just unacceptable.
Man, that is a lot of pressure, man. But it looks like, you thrived in it. It sounds like it was something that you were able to commit to. Did you, in India, how did that play out when it comes to school? Is it similar to the United States, the grading system? And were you involved in any sports or anything like that allow you to kind of dabble into fitness or physical activity?
Yeah, so I played sports casually growing up. I used to play soccer mainly, but no, I was never really competitive about it.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I reached the age of 18 that I really started taking my fitness and health to the next level.
Gotcha. So what is it that transitioned, or who put the idea in your head, or was this your parents' plan from day one to have you come to school in America, or to come here? Did you have family here before?
We didn't have family here before. I was
Okay.
the first generation in my family to study in the US.
Wow, that's
So it was a
awesome.
pretty big deal.
Yeah.
But back in India, everyone thinks of the US as this land of opportunity, and that's the goal for everyone in life, to one day come to the US.
Yeah.
So for me, when I was finally able to do it and be the first person in my family to get this US education, my parents basically put almost every dollar they had into paying for my college education,
Wow.
which I'm super grateful for. But with that much pressure on my shoulders to succeed, I knew I had to make it happen.
Yeah,
with that
no, man,
opportunity.
I could imagine. Your first generation, tell me a little bit about that experience of you coming to the U.S. I know it was for college, but did you also have to get a visa? How was the whole dynamic and the application process for you as an international student?
Well, I was actually born in the U.S., so
Okay.
I was a naturalized citizen.
Oh, nice.
And then we moved back to India, and then I ended up coming back again
Okay.
later on in my teenage years.
So it was a lot easier for you compared to most people that are trying to come here.
Yeah, I didn't have to deal with any visa
Yeah,
problems.
man. So then, I know that you were born here. At what age did you move to India then?
It wasn't for long. I moved there at age 12, and
Okay.
then I was back by age 15, and then
Got it. Okay. So when you moved back, you were already accustomed to the culture. You already understood like there's a lot of people that come here that are international students, um, and they experience culture shock. They're not used to like a lot of the American hustle and like things that happen. You were already comfortable with a lot of it, I take it.
Yeah, it definitely still took a little bit of adjustment,
Okay.
but yeah, having like being born in the U.S., I was definitely aware of it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. So, tell me a little bit about your college experience, because like, I'm assuming, what did you study? You know, what school did you go to? All that stuff. Did you join a fraternity? Did you do any of that, or a sorority, or whatever they're called?
Yeah, so in college, um, at first I didn't really know what I was doing. I went to Rutgers University, a huge state school in New Jersey.
Got it.
Also a big party school at the same time.
All right.
So at first I didn't really know what I was doing. I came in doing computer engineering,
Gotcha.
and about like 2 years into that, I realized it was super like hardware focused, and I felt like that wasn't a good application of my skill set, nor was there that much opportunity outside of college. So I switched to more of a software focus and switched my major into computer science. And then I found a lot more success and enjoyment with doing the software side. And other than the academic side, I was in a fraternity.
Okay.
And that definitely helped a lot with the networking aspect.
I bet. I bet. So like, when you transition majors or switch, did your parents feel any kind of way about it, or were they understanding of all that? Because sometimes, you know, people want to switch careers or degrees, and they don't always get the support, you know.
Yeah, in my case, luckily, I did get a lot of support because they knew computer science has
Nice.
a lot of opportunity, and yeah, they believed in me and knew that no matter what I did, I would be successful with it because I had that work ethic.
So what are some key lessons that you learned in college? I know a lot of this, your upbringing instilled a lot of this discipline and way of thinking that allow you to succeed in academia, especially going into college. But was there anything in college specifically that you learned that to this day you're like, oh man, I'm glad I went through that experience?
I feel like the number one takeaway from college is like self-education, the importance of self-education.
Gotcha.
Because I mean, while we had classes in college, honestly, I felt like the professors weren't like good enough to even
Yeah.
teach the subject properly.
Yeah.
So I was the type of kid who would like skip all the classes and just like teach myself everything through like the internet and YouTube.
Nice.
So I kind of just like got in the habit of like learning how to research things and educate myself on topics. And I feel like that took me a lot farther than just like going to a class and like sitting and listening, because I learned how to educate myself on any topic I wanted to learn.
No, that's amazing. That's really important because you're right. Even when I went to college, you know, I was in a marketing class and they were teaching business marketing from like the 90s. So it's completely irrelevant, a lot of the stuff I was learning. So teaching myself the new stuff was like super important, learning how to educate yourself. When it came to computer science, did you have a knack for it? Like the schooling, was that easy, or was the programming easy? Like what did you gravitate towards the most?
Like in between like computer science and other subjects?
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say I had like a strong natural inclination towards computer science,
Okay.
because I've always been very good at like math and pattern recognition.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And computer science is all about math and pattern recognition. So I was able to just naturally figure out programming without much like
Effort and
assistance.
stuff. Nice. How would you advise someone that's trying to get into that type of study or field, to kind of gauge like, oh, this is for me, this is not for me, and what are some things that you started? You talk about self-education. What are some things that you jumped into outside of YouTube that allowed you to pick that up as quickly as possible?
Well, I mean, right now the internet is so huge, you can really learn anything if you really have the drive to do it.
Yeah.
So if someone were wanting to get into computer science, I would just say to find some sort of website or application that they find interesting,
Okay.
and try to just like create a project on their own, because the quickest way to learn anything is by trying it out yourself.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
just by trying out something new, even if the first one is probably gonna suck, but you get that experience, which is like so much farther than 90% of people are even willing to know.
Nice. So once you graduated, I take it, were you interning while you were going to school, or how did you land your first job? Because that's like the hardest thing usually for a lot of students, is like applying for jobs, trying to find the right fit in terms of company. How did you go about landing your first gig after college, essentially?
So my first gig out of college, I got it while I was still in school in my last semester,
Okay.
during like a career fair. And yeah, I would just go around, like talk to every single person, hand out my resume. And the first one was with a pharma company, pretty large pharma company. And honestly, that job was not for me at all.
Okay.
Because I was there for around 6 months, and that like corporate life didn't fit at all with my skill set.
Gotcha.
Because it was a company with like 10,000 people. So
Wow.
as like an entry level like programmer, you're like a tiny cog in the wheel in the system.
Ah.
So no one has like any care for your skill set, nor are you having any like impact on the company as a whole. So that was like completely uninteresting and not something that I wanted to do long term.
Yeah.
And I eventually quit after around like 6 months.
So after you quit, what did you jump into, or at what point in like working for a job or doing your own thing did you finally hit like, oh, I actually like working, doing this specific thing? Like, I know some people in computer science actually enjoy the corporate life. For you, that wasn't it. So for you, what was it that finally was like, this is my niche, this is what I like to do?
Yeah, so while I was working in that like shitty corporate job, I was constantly like self-educating on the side during weekends and after work in the evenings and nights. And I realized like the field of AI and machine learning was so interesting to me, and also like such a groundbreaking field with like so many use cases.
Yeah.
So I started teaching myself Python programming as well as all of the different tools and libraries within machine learning, like TensorFlow, PyTorch,
Nice.
everything along those lines. And towards the end of that 6 months while I was working at the corporate job, I got an opportunity with an early like seed stage startup
Oh, wow.
to work as a contract data scientist.
Okay.
So getting that first opportunity in the AI space and at a startup was huge for me, because being at a startup company, you're having to take on so much responsibility and have like a lot of impact on the
Yeah.
company. So that was like a great opportunity that I'm grateful for.
From a paying perspective, initially, your first job, what is the average that you saw people making for that type of salary, or like for that type of career?
So when I was first graduated college, that first job was pretty like horrible pay. I was making like 5,000 a month.
Okay.
So that was like the big corporate job.
Yeah, yeah.
And then once I moved into startup world, at that point I was doing a lot better. I was making around 10 grand a month.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And then right around that same time is when I started making my first little bit of money in the AI space.
Yeah.
That's when I made the jump and decided to move to Miami.
Okay, so you were working in Jersey for a bit there.
Yeah.
And then finally you quit your job, you found a better company that suited your skill set.
Yeah.
You were able to scale your income, and with that you're like, hey, I could actually move to Miami. And what was it that made you pick Miami? There's so many cities in the United States. What made you actually come down south?
So I definitely considered a lot. So at first I was thinking of moving to San Francisco because
Gotcha.
SF Bay Area is like the
Yeah.
hub of tech. So I thought there would have the most opportunity for me. So I was considering SF as well as New York City and then Miami as well.
Yeah.
And the main thing that made Miami stick out to me is just the fact that the city was growing. It was on the upswing.
Gotcha.
Whereas cities like SF and New York, they've been already booming for a long time.
Yeah.
Like the tech scene in SF has been there since like the early 2000s, so
Yeah.
like almost 20 years at this point. So at this point, they're not really seeing any like significant growth. It's just like either maintaining or even declining at
Yeah.
this point. But here, there's like rapid growth in both the companies here as well as the opportunities.
Nice, nice. So when you moved here, was this pre-pandemic or after? Because I know that whole thing happened.
This was like post-pandemic. It was
Oh,
like
wow,
early
okay.
2022.
Okay. So when you were in school, probably when a lot of that happened.
Yeah, that
Gotcha.
was. I graduated from school in 2021.
Yeah,
So I graduated
okay.
right during the pandemic.
So jumping a little forward now, you know, you've been working in computer science, you got your new job, you're living in Miami, you're living the life out here.
Uh-huh.
What made you start thinking real estate? Because, you know, like a lot of people, they'll start making money, they'll get comfortable, but they don't really think about investing. What flipped the switch for you and started making you think, hey, I want to buy real estate while I'm out here?
So of course, I don't see myself working my entire life. I eventually want to just build long-term wealth and have that passive income come into me.
Gotcha.
And out of all the ways of passive income I saw, I found real estate to be the most proven to be successful. Like people have been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years,
Yeah.
and it's just the most proven asset class of all. So I knew that once I made enough money to invest, I wasn't going to invest in stocks and crypto or anything that was going to go straight into real estate.
That makes sense. And how long after you started saving for real estate did it take you to? I'm assuming you bought a property probably out here in Miami.
Yeah.
You know, take me through that whole venture. Like, how long did it take you to save? You know, how did you find an agent? What was it? How did you learn all this stuff to actually get started and invest?
So yeah, YouTube was definitely the biggest
YouTube,
resource.
nice.
YouTube has so much knowledge on it. And so when I first came here, I was looking for ways to make money fast, and that kind of led me towards the Airbnb arbitrage space at first,
Okay.
which I did see success with at first,
Okay.
but I was doing it in a very sketchy way because I was taking leases without telling the landlord I was gonna Airbnb it.
Yeah.
And one of them was also in a building that didn't allow Airbnbs.
Got it.
So I
Only
was
in Miami. Only in Miami.
so I was making money
Yeah.
off these Airbnbs, and it was good money for how fast it was. Like I was making like $4,000 a month off one property and like
Nice.
$2,000 off the other one. But yeah, like all shady things, they eventually come back, and
Yeah.
I ended up getting banned off Airbnb after
wow.
like 3 months of doing that.
Yeah.
Because they found out that it was in a restricted building and I
Gotcha.
didn't even own the property. So when that happened, I realized like I can't do this like get rich quick scheme
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
anymore, and I have to actually just do it the slow and
Steady
proper way.
Yeah.
So after I got banned off Airbnb, I had like no income for a month. I ended up getting unbanned after a month,
Yeah.
but at that point I had lost so much income that
Got it.
I was pretty much just breaking even at the end of the lease.
Yeah.
So when the leases ended for those 2 units I was arbitraging, I just cut it off and took whatever money I had into buying instead of renting.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you did make a couple mistakes then. You jumped into a business thinking this will work. It didn't quite work out. When that whole thing kind of crumbled, did you lose motivation in terms of trying to keep going forward, or were you kind of just like, no, this didn't work, I just got to pivot? What was your thought process when you more or less took that L?
I knew that real estate was definitely the path to wealth
Okay.
because I always try to interact with every successful person I meet, and every time I see someone in Miami driving like a Lambo or a Rolls Royce, I'll always go and walk up to them and just be like, hey, what do you do by the way?
Yeah.
Because I'm just curious, like, what do these wealthy guys do?
Yeah.
And literally, 9 times out of 10, the person always says, I do real estate.
Wow.
So after I heard all those like repeated things, I knew that real estate was the path to wealth, but I just knew that I wasn't doing it the right way from the start. So I just had to take a step back and then think of just doing it the proper and slow way.
So when it comes to your first property, you know, I'm assuming you bought it, you closed. What did you decide to do with that property? Did you decide to also Airbnb it, have it as a long-term rental, live in it? What was your initial plan with that?
Yeah, so I got one out in Coral Gables,
Okay.
single family place, and Yeah, right now it's just Airbnb because Miami, the short-term rental market is just so huge that
Yeah.
it makes the most sense to Airbnb
Gotcha.
versus anything else.
Going forward, you have I'm assuming you're still a software engineer. You're still working that full time.
Yeah.
You have your property. You might have mentioned a little bit earlier how you have a SaaS business, perhaps. Can you go a
Yeah.
little bit into that?
Yeah, so SaaS,
And what is SaaS for the people that have never heard of that? That acronym.
yeah, so SaaS stands for software as a service, and it's just anytime you're selling a software, it can either be B2B or B2C. Some examples of SaaS are like Uber, Airbnb, they're all SaaS businesses.
Okay.
So when I was working at this job at a startup, I realized that the code I'm writing, while they're paying me 10K a month to do it, it's then being sold to other people for like millions of dollars.
Oh wow.
So if I already have the coding skills, so if I just remove the middleman and start trying to sell things myself, then I can scale my income so much more.
Gotcha. So what are you currently working on that's in the SaaS industry, I guess?
Yeah, so right now my main business venture is a SaaS called Recruiter AI, which uses generative AI to automate the tech recruitment process, essentially reducing labor costs for recruitment companies by replacing it with automated messaging.
And are you currently working with clients? How is that venture going for you?
Right now I'm still in the early stages.
Okay.
I'm working with one client who's helping me to flesh it out and build it out into more. And then with the feedback that I'm getting, I'm using that to continually improve the product.
Gotcha.
And then we'll be trying to scale it to more clients in the future.
So if I was a software engineer and I wanted to jump on board with this type of SaaS business, what are certain skill sets or talents that you look for in other engineers that you would partner with or bring on board to kind of help you with your venture?
I think number one is just the ability to learn, willingness to learn.
Okay.
Because the technology space is so rapidly growing that you need to be constantly learning in order to be competitive in this space. Just a year ago, no one was talking about generative AI. Now it's all over the news, and every single company wants to start implementing generative AI.
Yeah.
Then the year before, 2022, no one knew about Web3 before that, and then last year Web3 got huge, and people started pouring billions of dollars into Web3 companies. So you need to be constantly adapting with the times, constantly learning new skills.
That makes sense. When it comes to AI, what are your thoughts? Because people are afraid of it. People are thinking it's doomsday. Given that you're actually in tech, how do you see AI changing our life? How do you see AI improving things? How do you see AI being dangerous? What are your thoughts on it?
I think generative AI is just so powerful that a lot of low-skilled labor is going to be gone within the next few years.
Wow.
AI is going to take a lot of different jobs, especially those in monotonous jobs where you're repeating the same thing over again. Think a grocery store attendant or someone at a bank who's just the receptionist. These kind of low-skilled jobs can all be easily replaced by a trained natural language processing software that can be trained to talk like a human.
So, okay, so that's a little bit scary. I gotta lie, being replaced. What would you advise people that are in those type of jobs or industries to do? Just quit their job, or do you think there's still skill sets to learn out there that'll put them in a good position when this kind of stuff happens?
Yeah, so the one thing right now that AI cannot replicate is soft skills. Any job involving soft skills like negotiation, persuasion, sales is still going to exist for the foreseeable future. So anyone in that kind of low skill job should aim to increase their skill set as soon as possible.
Got it. No, that's awesome. That's good stuff to learn. You spoke about fitness. How the hell did most people that do software aren't into fitness? Let's be honest. What made you, and you kind of grew up playing a little bit soccer, but what made you actually jump into fitness and then start doing competitions, like fitness competitions?
It was just like I'm ultimately like such a competitive person,
Yeah,
so I just want to be like the strongest person in the room, like in
That's
every
right.
room I walk into. So I think around like age 18 is when I started working out, and
Okay.
then I just like fell in love with the progress, because over time you see like your body changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
You get stronger at such a rapid pace. And then I got addicted to the results. And then once the progress starts coming, you don't want to stop. And then I just kept going harder and harder, upping the weights every single week,
Nice.
improving my diet all the time. And then
When it came to improving your diet, was that hard to learn, or was that also something you could just YouTube? How did you learn what works for you? Because not everyone's the same.
just through like trial and error at the
Okay.
end of the day, but I would just self-educate myself on what's the kind of diet to put on the most amount of lean body mass in the shortest amount of time while minimizing body fat gain.
Okay.
And then I would just focus all on like meal prepping and just have like 100% clean diet. I feel like at the end of the day, it's more about discipline than the knowledge. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, like everyone knows how to eat healthy,
That's true.
but most people don't do it because they don't
Yeah.
have the discipline.
That is facts. That is
Yeah.
facts. I'll get the pizza ordered and like on the weekend when I'm starving, which I know is bad, but it's definitely discipline and just having the ability to stick to what you like and what you're supposed to be doing. Right? You've been out here in Miami a couple of years now. You have your own place. You have real estate out here. From your experience, what has the dating life in Miami been compared to when you were in Jersey and compared to when you were back home?
I would say it was like a pretty rough transition, because yeah, it's just like it's competitive as a guy, because there's like hella successful people, so you're competing against a much higher tier of people to begin with.
Yeah,
And the girls as well, like at least when I was back in New Jersey, you have more like small town girls who are like okay to live like a normal life, like stay at home, like just chill during the day.
yeah, yeah.
Here it's such like a fast life, like people are constantly going out all the time. There's like clubs and boats and parties up going on all the time, so people are definitely living like a much like higher adrenaline life.
Yeah. Basically, dopamine. Just chasing dopamine and like trying to like constantly seek the next big thing, essentially.
Exactly. People are constantly dopamine chasing. So because of that, there's a very different type of girl. Like
Yeah.
they're constantly looking for what's the next party I can go to? Who's the next guy I can hang out with? Who's the next
Yeah.
millionaire yacht I can hang out with?
So, from your experience, are dating apps also affecting like things out here? Like, do you think dating apps help at all, like when it comes to finding someone, or do you think they're just part of hookup culture at this point, and people just use them to take advantage of the situation?
Yeah, personally, I deleted all dating apps for like several months,
Okay.
and the reason for that is I feel like only the bottom tier of people on the dating market are on it to begin with.
That's fair.
Because think about it, if you're a hot girl, a 9 or a 10, you can literally walk to the grocery store and get hit on.
Yeah, that's true.
They're not gonna go out of their way to go and find someone, because they can easily get it just by walking on the street.
Yeah.
So the only types of girls who are on the dating apps to begin with are the ones who are so desperate and like low value that
Yeah,
they can't
yeah.
find the attention elsewhere.
That makes sense. That actually does make sense. From a guy's perspective, you're claiming I don't really like dating apps. I don't really use them. What are some tips then that you would give guys today, even living in Miami, to be able to meet girls or go out and meet people?
Yeah. I think like nothing beats like real life interaction.
Okay.
And I found that the places where you can meet like high quality people are places that attract like people on the same like self improvement grind as you and I.
Gotcha.
So I tried meeting girls at clubs and bars before, but honestly like nothing ever worked out, and those are not the type of girls that I want to date anyways.
Yeah.
But the places that I did find significant high quality are like coffee shops,
Okay.
parks, yoga classes, gyms, even the grocery store.
Nice.
Like, I'm telling you, Whole Foods has the hottest girls in my head. I'm being so.
What are your traits, or what are like qualifications that you look for when you're trying to date someone? Are your parents really strict about who you date? How does that play out into your dating life?
I wouldn't say they're really strict, but like, I definitely grew up in like a traditional household.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's definitely like the same image that I have as well for my own future partner. I
Okay.
want like someone with like traditional values who wants to build something long term
Yeah.
and maintain like a strong family bond and not be like jumping from person to person every
Yeah,
like
that makes
couple
sense. So you're definitely looking for something more long-term, more stable, someone that's looking to have a family and like to grow together, basically.
Exactly, yeah. I want someone with the same like vision for success that I do.
Well, you're in the wrong place for that, my
Yeah.
friend. No, but seriously speaking, I know there's gonna be a lot of ladies out there probably asking, are you single? Are you taken? What is your dating life right now?
Yeah, I'm single right now.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go, guys. Hit him up. He's single. This guy's a good guy. So we're gonna reach the last part of our interview right now, and the last segment is called Fire Round. Basically, this is a quick and fun segment where you answer one-word answers on whatever is asked for you. If you don't
Okay.
want to answer because it gets a little too crazy, you can plead the fifth. You skip it.
Okay, so
Alright.
just first word that pops up.
First word that pops in your head. All right. Who do you text the most?
My mom.
Your mom. Oh man. All right. Favorite food?
Chipotle.
Chipotle, dude, nice. How many genders are there?
2.
All right, there we go. Have you ever won a contest?
Bodybuilding.
Ooh, dude, you have? That's dope. OnlyFans.
Hell no.
Who inspires you the most?
A bunch of different people.
Okay, fair. Is the nuclear family important to you?
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
The nuclear family is like a strong household, mom and dad leading the family, basically.
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%. Okay. Are trans women real women?
I don't even know what a trans woman is.
That's fair. Does body count matter?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your favorite movie of all time?
Matrix.
The Matrix. Yo, that's a good movie, man. That's a good movie. Well, Sid, dude, thank you. Thank you again for coming by. I appreciate your time. Where can people find you? Tell them if you're looking for help with your business, anything. Do you have an Instagram?
Yeah, the best place to reach me is on Instagram. My Instagram is at SidX Sriram, which is SRIRAM.
There you go, guys. Look him up. Ladies, hit him up. And it's always a pleasure talking to you, bro. Thanks for coming out.
Likewise,
And,
man.
yeah, man. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. And we will catch you guys on the next one, all right? Peace. That was good, man. Oh, God. I gotta edit it later, but we should be good.